In order to understand a mobile network, let's first talk about services. Let's talk about the basic services that can be delivered on mobile systems. The first and also the oldest is mobile telephony. This is in essence the ability to make and receive calls with your smartphone using like the native interface of the phone and your phone number that you received from your mobile operator. Even though this is a well-established service, is by no means a simple service. In fact, mobile telephony has been evolving from generation to generation, being enhanced in terms of quality, in terms of capacity, but a big jump was done between 3G and 4G when the technology that's used to deliver mobile telephony has been completely replaced. So since 4G, we are making calls using voice over IP technology. And in essence, voice over IP use IP. IP stands for Internet Protocol, which is one of the main protocols of the Internet. It's actually then used to deliver the voice and to make the signaling needed for the calls. And that allows to share the infrastructure and to share the capacity between voice over IP and other internet services. And in essence, in 5G, we're still using a very similar way as 4G, but it's also known as voice over NR. NR stands for new radio, and it's the 5G air interface. One very important characteristic is that in voice over NR, we are using a very good codec, EVS, which has improved voice quality because it's a wideband codec. It's a codec which gives a crispier voice, so like it gives more quality to the voice. You can perceive it more naturally, and it also degrades less in terms when there is some kind of impairment. And EVS was also added to 4G, so you can also do nowadays EVS calls with 4G, but in 5G it should be always there. So like we should really over time perceive this increased quality compared especially to what we are using with 2G and 3G. Another important point like is that the VoIP can be completely um, managed by the network to deliver the best quality of service when you're making like these native calls using mobile telephony. This is different like if you're using an over-the-top application. If you're using some other VoIP application, then the VoIP would be treated like any other traffic. But if you're doing the call over the native menu, then the network will adapt in terms of quality of service, in terms of mobility, in terms of coverage, to make sure that you have the best experience when making your call. The next service we're going to talk about is mobile internet access. Of course, this is a basic service, and nowadays we can even say it has become the most important service, like surpassing mobile telephony. Well, in 2.5G and 3G, then having an internet access with a mobile, that was the major innovation. But at that point, it did still not work too well. We have came a long way with 4G and now 5G to deliver more capacity and to have mobile broadband. And we can say that cellular networks today, they exist primarily to deliver mobile broadband so that you can access the internet anywhere. There are many challenges. For example, when you're delivering to mobiles, then you need to appropriate to different screen sizes. So this is a service that it's always evolving. Of course, we have many web pages which are optimized for mobile, but they need to be delivered on mobile. They need to be delivered in a laptop, in a tablet. So it's still a challenge to be able to deliver the content in the best way in each scenario. The third basic service is the instant messaging, so the so-called SMS. Okay? So basically, with the instant message, we also have the possibility to send text messages, and nowadays we use more like applications which are over the top to send messages. But SMS still has its uses, in particular because SMS uses the mobile network security, then it can be considered a second factor for authentication. So it's still very important. For example, if you have a password in the internet, you could receive, for example, an SMS for your bank or another important account, so that you can have identity verification and recovery of passwords. So it's still important for those applications, and of course it will remain there.